Well, hello, how are you doing? I want to welcome you back to my personal life channel here on YouTube. What I'm doing in this video is I'm actually starting a new playlist on my channel. I'm going to call it When Does a Boy Become a Man? In this video, I'm going to introduce you to why I asked this question. Please keep watching. Well, as you know, I am a writer. I'm also a online school course instructor. And one of the books that I've written here is Life Lessons on Being a Spiritual Leader in the Home. Well, I believe that men are to be spiritual leaders. So my question is when does a boy become a man? So I want to talk about this a little bit. I often wondered about this question in my own life and those around me, and it raised some of the most important issues facing Christians today. While the world seems increasingly confused about matters as basic as what it means to be male and female, Christians are called to frame out arguments in distinctively biblical terms. So, what does it mean to be a man from a biblical standpoint? All around us, cultural developments and media messages communicate a fog of confusion over questions of gender. In reality, these issues lie right along the fault lines of today's culture war and its most controversial points of debate. For many years, this society has been experimenting with the most fundamental realities of human existence, the essence of what it means to be male or female has been routinely discounted by a society infatuated with unlimited self expression and assertions of personal autonomy. So we get into a legal issue where women think that they're men and men that think that they're women. But let's define it a little bit more. Girls that thinks they're boys and boys that thinks they're girls. Women are now joined by men who complain that traditional expectations about gender roles are oppressive, limited, and intolerant. An entire generation of young women is trying to find a way to generate womanhood against the tidal force of ideological feminism. Similar, boys and young men are desperately looking for models of manhood and answering to their urgent questions of male identity, male responsibility, and male roles. As you know, I'm reading an article that I found that breaks this down, and I've had this in my files on my computer for a long time. And I thought that it really kind of goes into my study on life lessons of being a spiritual leader in the home. I think we get this confused sometimes as men, so and women too. But what does it mean when you hear the question, when does a boy become a man? Christians understand that God created human beings as male and female for his glory and for our good. The difference between the sexes is not matters of evolutionary accident, but are clearly indications of God's sublime and perfect design for human happiness. God's perfect design for human happiness has have you ever looked at what makes God happy? As followers of Christ, we understand that it is our responsibility to embrace, affirm, and fulfill the role of responsibilities God has given us. So, what roles has God given us, or responsible roles has God given us as men? What responsible roles has God given to women? In the context of this confusion, boys are especially vulnerable. The feminization of Society, mixed with confusing cultural signals, have led many boys and young men to be uncertain and unaware of their masculinity and proper role. In a desperate search for a secure male identity, some are attracted to gross distortions. I'm going to have to make a comment on that. What's the deal with this big old gaggly holes in the ears? It's got the big old holes in there. You know, that's a distortion of what God intended us to be as men. Some embrace a brutalized and ignorant posture while others retreat into insecure manhood, never understanding a man's responsibility to lead. We now face a phenomena of potential boyhood on the part of many males. Refusing to grow up, these young men function as boys well into their 20s, some even into their 30s and beyond. An extended male adolescent marks the lifestyles, expectations, and behavior of far more than many young males whose masculine identity is embraced awkwardly, if at all. Are you relating to me, my friends? So the question comes up, when does a boy become a man? The answer to this must go far beyond biological and chronological age. As defined in the Bible, manhood is a functional reality demonstrated in a man's fulfillment of responsibility and leadership. Servant leadership. We've got to understand the difference between controlling the people in our life and leading them from a servant heart. With this in mind, let me suggest 13 key points of biblical manhood. The achievement of these virtual qualities marks the emergency of a man who will demonstrate true biblical masculinity. In next week's video, we're going to look at the first point, and I'm going to write it on the screen here. Spiritual maturity sufficient to lead a wife and children. What does it mean to be spiritually mature to lead a wife and children? We're going to look at that in next week's session on this playlist series. Until then, my friends, may God bless you. May His face shine upon you, and may Jesus bring you joy. I'll see you soon.